And welcome back to Washington Commanders Insider. Today we're talking about Laramie Tonsel and Deebo Samuel and why they are going to be super impactful for the Washington Commanders, along with why we should be excited as fans for the direction of the Washington Commanders. And so before we go ahead and jump into it, I first want to remind you to hit that subscribe button, just like Jayden Daniels is going to be hitting Deebo Samuel and Terry McLaurin for lots of touchdowns this upcoming season. And so in exchange for hitting that subscribe button, I'm going to give you nothing but daily content around the Washington Commanders. And so make sure you hit that like, you hit that subscribe, and you join the Washington Commanders Insider family as we talk nothing but Washington Commanders football. And so with that being said, we are talking about traded players who will be the biggest impact this season. And so this upcoming season. Now, here we go. So this comes from an article that is on NFL.com, and you can find this under traded players who will have the biggest impact on the 2025 NFL season here. And this is significant to the Washington Commanders because they have two players inside the top 10, which are going to be Deebo Samuel and Laramie Tonsel. And so we're going to be talking about why they are first going to be very impactful here for the team and why this is showing us that Adam Peters is absolutely in the right direction with just the build of this franchise. And so let's go ahead and let's start with Laramie Tonsel here. And so he's mentioned first. He is second on the list out of 10 players, and that is big time in itself. And so with Laramie Tonsel, this is why he is going to be a huge impact. And so again, you can go into the article and you can see this, but according to a next-gen stat, Laramie Tonsel only gave up 2.5 sacks last season, and that is significant because last year the Washington Commanders gave up 50 sacks, which tied for seventh most in the NFL. And Brandon Coleman, third round pick here last season for us, he gave up 10 of those. And so not to put Brandon Coleman and his performance down, but this just lets you know just what type of player you're getting with Laramie Tonsel coming over. So 2.5 sacks given up in Houston last season. And oh, by the way, he is a 5-time Pro Bowler, and he's going to be on the blind side for Jayden Daniels. And so this is why this is significant, because I think that, number one, he is going to be just one of the most impactful starters for the football team, because we know that teams now have tape on Jayden Daniels. Obviously, they have some tape on our offense. It is going to evolve because we have more players that have come in. And also, too, Cliff Kingsbury, you can trust that he is just working tirelessly to improve the offense and take it to another level. So it is going to have some wrinkles and things like that. But for the most part, teams now, they're going to be coming after Jayden Daniels. And also, too, the schedule is going to be tougher. And so those are two things that are certainly going to be true. And so you are pouring back into your franchise quarterback by going out here and getting Laramie Tonsel. And I love this because I'm not saying that Jayden Daniels is RG3, because he's not. They don't play the same way and things like that. I'm just going off the fact that they both had successful rookie seasons, right? And so the difference here and why we love what Adam Peters is doing with this team is that he's poured into the quarterback and protecting Jayden Daniels. You did not see that with RG3. In fact, when he got drafted in 2012, we did have some offensive linemen that did get drafted there, but none of them made it past 3 seasons. And the next year after that, there was not any offensive lineman taken. Now, we did get some good players in 2013 with Jordan Reed, who was a terrific tight end there, played with Chris Cooley, one of my favorite tight ends all time for this franchise, and Chris Thompson, one of my favorite running backs there, especially the story that he had to get there. And Bakari Rambo was a terrific safety out of Georgia. And so, look, we got some great defensive players here, but we never invested back into the quarterback and really investing into just that long-term build and maximizing our franchise quarterback. And so I love that Adam Peters was one step ahead by going out here and getting Laramie Tonsel. And he just added to that by going out in the draft this year and getting Josh Conley Jr. And that is terrific, because now not only did he get somebody for the blind side for Jayden Daniels, you also got somebody potentially who could start for you day one on the other side. So you really balance your line, and you already had a solid line. And so, look, even though the Commanders gave up 50 sacks last season, I get it, and it was 7th most, it was not the worst offensive line in the league. And I think that when you look at this, you have to take in the fact that Brandon Coleman was a rookie. He's going to be even better this season. Look, we have a solid line to go along with Jayden Daniels, and I think it's only going to get better here. So point number one, look, you got some great contributions here from the line with Tyler Biadasz, Nick Allegretti, Brandon Coleman. You just added to that with Josh Conley Jr. and then also too with Laramie Tonsel. This shows you the forward thinking of Adam Peters, and it just also shows you that he is just thinking some moves ahead here, because also you got to factor in that Laramie Tonsel, this is not his first dance with the second-year quarterback. He was in this situation with C.J. Stroud. Now, C.J. Stroud didn't take off like he wanted to probably this last season, but I am believing in Jayden Daniels and the work that he's going to put in, that he is going to take off this season. And I love the fact that we have somebody to protect his blind side. So next up, the next player here that is certainly going to be just key for the Washington Commanders and is listed as a key addition out of the entire. Again, this is traded players, and he came in at 7th. And that is Deebo Samuel. And so, look, we've been talking about Deebo Samuel. I've said this before, that Deebo Samuel, to me, I think he's going to have his best year, I think, as a wide receiver. I really do, because Terry McLaurin and what he was able to do last year with coverages and just with teams knowing where the Washington Commanders wanted to go, and the fact that he still had the year that he had, you now add Deebo Samuel to the mix. And I just think that you pair that with Cliff Kingsbury, and this team is going to get dangerous. And again, I'm also too banking on the fact that Jayden Daniels, who works tirelessly, as well, is also going to put in the work to take another step with this offense. And so all that to me adds to a plus. And what I like about this article here is it talks about that there's 3 likely scenarios. And so one, it talks about Cliff Kingsbury, and it talks about him maximizing the value and the versatility of Deebo Samuel along with Terry McLaurin. And so I do agree with that. I think that Terry McLaurin, who we know can run any route in the route tree, we know that he can utilize his speed. We know that he can utilize his physicality. Look, there's not anything that Terry McLaurin cannot do. And what I love best about Terry McLaurin is he's done this without really having a franchise quarterback. And so Terry McLaurin is a guy that I always bet on. He's going to be able to get loose, and you add Deebo Samuel to the mix and Cliff Kingsbury and the way that he's able to create offensively. I just think that Deebo Samuel, he's going to get the ball in so many ways as a wide receiver, and he doesn't necessarily have to be a running back. And so I think he comes to a team that I don't want to say that it's maybe more balanced than the San Francisco teams that he's played on, but I think that this is the first time that he's played with a legit, just wide receiver one, and he doesn't have to be that, and he can just go out there and he can be a 1B. And I think that Cliff Kingsbury and the scheme, they're going to get him several looks, whether it's screens, whether it's dump downs out of the backfield, whether it is, post, anything you could think of, flies. I mean, anything that you can think of that you could really put in a wide receiver's lap. I think that Deebo Samuel is going to get that. And so I think that that's going to unlock him this next season. Next, I think another thing here, and a great point too, is it talks about the fact that for the first time, really, he can just chip in and he doesn't have to be the guy. And so I do agree with that. I think that he comes in now where his role, it's big, but it's not that big. He doesn't have to take all the responsibility of being a wide receiver one. And I do think that that is absolutely going to unlock Deebo Samuel. And I think that this is why he is going to have a great year. In fact, I wrote that he takes a lesser but bigger role. And so what do you mean here? It's like he takes a lesser role because he's not going to be the guy that gets the primary coverage. And he's a guy that can work off of the primary guy. And I just think that with Deebo Samuel and his ability to create after contact and things like that, I think that, look, he's going to get that happening again this year. I think that his career averages will go up here as far as the yards after the catch. And then with Jayden Daniels, I think another factor here is with Jayden Daniels being so mobile and being able to extend plays, there's going to be time when coverages break down and Deebo Samuel's going to be there and he's going to have a lot of space. And so because of that, I think that that's another way that he's going to be able to really take off this next season. And I just don't believe in the last outcome, which is that, he would be here and not just necessarily be an impact for the team. I don't think that there's any possible scenario where Deebo Samuel is not an impact. And again, I just love what Adam Peters has done because he's poured into Jayden Daniels with the offensive line, and he's also gone out there and gotten him another weapon here via the trade that is going to open up the offense and make the offense just that much more unguardable. It was unguardable last season. I get that there's going to be more tape. I get that they're going to be coming after Jayden Daniels and trying to attack us more, but I think that this team is absolutely prepared. This is the type of forward thinking that we love from Adam Peters and this franchise right now. And so, before we jump out of here, I just want to list some of the names here as well, which kind of plays into what I was talking about with Adam Peters. But look, at one, the first player on this list was Geno Smith. He's heading over to the Raiders, I believe. You have Laramie Tonsel. He was 2. You have Joe Thuney heading over to the Bears. You have Jonah Jackson. He's also heading to the Bears. They definitely needed to get their offensive line together. But George Pickens, he's 5. And I thought that was interesting because we just talked about George Pickens. We talked about the impact that that's going to have on our division. And I just talked about why, again, Adam Peters is ahead of the curve because he went out and he got Trey Amos. And if you listen to the last video where I was talking about Dan Quinn and him talking about how he envisions Trey Amos playing on the outside and using that length, this is exactly why you go and get you a corner like this, because you pair that with a healthy Marshon Lattimore. This is what we need to get over the top in this division, because clearly you're seeing that they're going to try to attack the defense with the outside here with the wide receivers. And so George Pickens, a guy that looked by far, he was Pittsburgh's best wide receiver, over 1,000 yards. And so they're pairing that with CeeDee Lamb, CeeDee Lamb. And so I think you're ahead of schedule here with Trey Amos. You already know what you have with Mikey Sainristil. The only piece that we're waiting on is just going to be Marshon Lattimore, which we're banking he's going to be fine. And he's going to know the plays. He's going to feel more comfortable. He's going to get a full training camp with us. I think that that's going to take us over the top. So I think that that is another reason why you just love the direction of this franchise, because they are forward thinking with what they are doing. And so anyway, let me know in the comments here what you guys are thinking about this. Do you feel like that, yes, Deebo Samuel and Laramie Tonsel are absolutely going to be impact players? Do you also agree with the fact that, yes, Adam Peters has been a forward-thinking GM, and this is why we should be excited as fans, because this team has a direction. He has a direction. He has a plan. And look, it literally is an AP we trust. And by the way, I forgot to finish off the list. So 10 was Kenneth Murray. He's a linebacker that went to the Dallas Cowboys. Chauncey Gardner Johnson was 9th. He went to the Houston Texans there. And then in the comments, what you guys think about the list? What do you guys think about Laramie Tonsel and Deebo Samuel? What do you guys think about Adam Peters and just the direction here? And once again, if you want to check this out, you can go to this article on NFL.com. And look, as we always say around here, go Commanders, and I will see you guys on the next one. All right, man. Peace.